sorts. SageSTEP is a long-term treatment evaluation project looking at restoration and fuel reduction treatments across the sagebrush steppe. I'm here with Dr. Ava Strand, who's going to tell us about her new paper that's coming out in the journal Ecosphere. Ava, can you tell us what your new paper is about?
Yeah, definitely. It came out just recently, and the title of it is Treatment Longevity and Change in Surface Fuel Loads in after pinyon juniper mastication. And the treatment that we're focusing on are the mastication treatments that only occurred in a few of the SageSTEP sites. And I'm going to share my screen here so you can see what this mastication is all about. So mastication treatments crush and grind entire trees, as you can see in these photos, but seedlings and smaller trees kind of escape this masticator. And on the photo on the right here, you can see that the trees, as the masticator moves through here, it leaves behind this pile of woody fuels. So this mastication treatment was implemented across a gradient of pinyon juniper canopy covers. And we had canopy cover that was in early successional phases of juniper expansion up to the middle phase and up to very large, where we had very large juniper trees. And you can see that the understory of shrubs and grasses were pretty much gone in those. In this paper, we looked at the fuels. And just to explain a little bit about what fuels we looked at the herbaceous fuels, which is the grasses and forbs. We looked at the shrubs. We looked at the woody fuels, and as you could see in the last picture, the mastication actually created a lot of fuels from the trees. And then we also looked at the ground fuels, the duff and the litter that was under the juniper trees. And the woody fuels, we looked at 3 different size classes, the less than a 1/4 inch up, and then 1/4 inch to 1 inch, and 1 to 3 inches, and then the large pieces that were greater than 3 inches. So those are the fuel types we looked at, and a picture says more than 1,000 words, I guess. So the A here is the pre-treatment photo of an area that had quite a lot of juniper to begin with. And after the mastication treatment in B, we can see that the trees are converted to woody fuels on the ground. We still don't have very many shrubs and grasses coming back. But after 6 years, and we looked at this through 10 years, after 6 years, we have native grasses and forbs coming back and some shrubs. And after 10 years, we have a fair amount of the perennial grasses back. And of course, there were a lot of variation. This is one site. In some areas, we had maybe more annual grasses, some areas more perennial grasses, but that's been presented in other papers as part of SageSTEP. I just wanted to focus in a little bit on this 1-year masticated fuels here. You can see this large pile of wood that was created 6 years post-treatment. We can see that these woody fuels are starting to disappear, and 10 years at least the smaller pieces are gone. And I summarize that in this graph. I think this is a great graph to show what actually happened. So 1 year after treatment, we can see that we had a lot of this tree litter and duff that was under the trees. We had a lot of woody fuels that was created from the masticator. And we didn't have very much herbaceous and shrubs. But after 10 years, most of the tree litter and duff was gone. The small size class of the woody fuels were gone, so those less than a 1/4 inch. And we had an increase in herbaceous and shrubs, which that is our shrub step. So that's a desirable outcome of this project. We also looked at the tree density. So we also looked at, well, are these little junipers coming back? So at the Anarchy site, we had 64 stems per hectare, Greenville bench, a little more. So the little junipers are actually coming back.
This is great, Ava. Was there anything that surprised you?
So yeah, I was a little bit surprised to see that the grasses actually recovered as much as they did, even when we had pretty high juniper cover in the area. But of course, it took time. And we have to remember that there were no seeding, and there was also no post treatment grazing in this area. And I was also surprised to see that the duff and litter and most of that small woody material actually decomposed after 10 years. It was pretty much gone. We actually don't really know exactly where it went, but it wasn't there anymore. So it could have been dispersed, decomposed through, just respiration. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very exciting. What would you say is your most important punchline for managers to take away from this?
I would say that if you are to treat sagebrush, to restore sagebrush strep using these kinds of treatment, treat early. Don't wait until the juniper trees have become big and you have lost the understory. And prioritize areas where there's a chance of getting good grass and shrub response. So look at soils, look at slope, look at the site. Also, regarding the mastication, I would say that try to get a mastication process that masticates to as small size classes as possible. And there are vertical shaft and there are horizontal shaft masticators, and just work with contractors to see what you can expect, because a smaller size will decompose faster. And if you have that woody fuel left on the ground and you have a fire come through, you might have a higher severity fire if the woody fuels are left on the ground.
Yeah, that makes sense. Great. Well, what will you work on next now that you've got this one done?
Yeah, I'll continue to work. There's so much data from SageSTEP, so I'll continue to work on summarizing the prescribed fire data and the lop and scatter a bit, and also look at a little more on these potential fire effects that may occur after these treatments, since we're actually creating fuels that will stay on the ground for at least some time.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much for being here. Dr. Ava Strand talking about her upcoming paper in the SageSTEP special issue of Ecosphere. And there's a link below where you can go take a closer look at her data. Thanks so much, Ava.